Hey everyone, welcome to our review of the classification of living things. Let's start out by talking about scientific names. Before we could classify living things, we want to name them. And there was a problem in the world. At one point in time, different people from across the world used different words to describe living things. They used words that made sense in their own language. For example, in English, cat is cat. In Spanish, it's gato. In French, it's chat. But in these different languages, the animal or plant was named by different words. And that was becoming a problem because as scientists shared their ideas and published papers, if you spoke a different language, you might not even know that that paper existed or be able to use it for research. So, Carolus Linnaeus, one of the most influential scientists in classification, came up with this binomial nomenclature idea. Now, binomial nomenclature means two name naming system. You can remember it's binomial because bicycle has two wheels, binomial is two names, and nomenclature just means naming system. So binomial nomenclature means a two name naming system. And when you write in binomial nomenclature, you're going to capitalize the first word, lowercase the second word, and use italics. And you can see an example there that's for great white shark, Charcharodon charcharius, and this is in proper binomial nomenclature format. Now, once we name organisms, we can start to classify or sort them into different categories, and that is called taxonomy. The study of classifying organisms and assigning universally accepted names is called taxonomy, and that was started again by Carolus Linnaeus. So, same guy who came up with naming organisms comes up with classifying or taxonomy. Now, when you classify, you can use very many different categories or taxa. Taxa comes from the word taxonomy, but it means the different categories that you might use to classify living things. So the ones we talked about were domain, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species. Now, I've listed here for you the three domains of life. There are three domains: bacteria, archaea, and eukarya. And then those domains can further be broken down into kingdoms, like eubacteria, archaeobacteria, plant, animal, fungus, and protist. So there are three domains, and there are six kingdoms that fit within those domains. From there on, you can start to get even more specific as you describe organisms. For example, when we talk about the animal kingdom, we'll talk about different phyla, like sponges is its own phyla, platyhelminthes, which is our flatworms, is their own phyla. Echinoderms, like starfish, is their own phylum. So we'll get a little bit more specific. And as you go through this classification list from domain all the way to species, that gets more specific as you go. So domain is the least specific way to categorize a living thing, and species is the most specific way. In fact, when you look back at the scientific naming, we actually use genus and species for the scientific naming. We use the two most specific classifications of that organism in order to name it. So, how do we know what organisms go in what kingdoms? Well, we look at a couple different things. One main thing is we look at how many cells does that organism have. So, if it's unicellular, it's probably going into the eubacteria or archaeobacteria kingdom, and if it's multicellular, it has many cells, it's probably going to be a plant, animal, fungus, or protist. Next, we can look at how it obtains energy, if it's an autotroph or a heterotroph. So, for example, plants make their own energy, they would be considered autotroph, and animals get energy from eating other living things, and so they would be considered a heterotroph. The next thing we could look at is what type of cell is it? Is it eukaryotic, complex cell, or prokaryotic, simple cell? If it's eukaryotic, it's probably a plant, animal, fungus, or protist in the eukarya domain. And if it's prokaryotic, it's probably either eubacteria or archaea bacteria in the domains of bacteria and archaea. The last thing is cell structures that can give us an idea of what category an organism goes into. So, one example of a type of cell structure we might look for is a cell wall. What if we discover a new organism and we don't know what category it is, and we find out it has a cell wall? If it has a cell wall, it could be a eubacteria, if it's also single cellular or unicellular, or it could be a plant or a fungus if it has a cell wall, but then we would look further at their cell wall. If the cell wall is made of cellulose, it will be a plant, and if it's made of chitin, it will be a fungus. So different materials to make up cell walls could tell us which kingdom a certain organism is. So this is basically if you were a scientist and you were to come across a brand new species that nobody has ever seen and you have no idea what it is, you could look at these different characteristics: number of cells, how it gets energy, what type of cells does it have, what are its cell structures that it has, and determine if it should go into one of these six kingdoms and which kingdom it should go into. Now, classification or taxonomy has actually changed over time. You can tell way back in previous times, we would just use the physical appearance of a certain organism to classify it. So, for example, the African vulture and the American vulture were classified the same because they both looked like vultures. But nowadays, we use a couple other things. We use the theory of evolution, which gives us phylogeny based on DNA and proteins. And also, we talk about embryology and fossil records. So, putting that stuff together, theory of evolution, we typically will look at how things are related to each other genetically and sort them into different categories together. Embryology means looking at how they develop as like from the time the egg is fertilized to when it becomes a mature organism. And also the fossil record, looking at the different bone structures and things like that. But nowadays we use those theory of evolution, embryology, and fossil records to sort organisms into different phyla, class, orders, family, genuses, and species. And we show that information using these modern taxonomy tools called a cladogram and a dichotomous key. Now, you've seen cladograms before. They are based on phylogeny, or the relationship between organisms. And what you see here is that each branch of the cladogram is called a clade, and they are separated by derived characteristics. So, certain characteristics that one group has that the next group doesn't. So, for example, the clade of turtles is different from the clade of salamanders because turtles have amniotic eggs and salamanders do not. The clade of leopard is different from turtles and all these other organisms because the leopard has hair. That derived characteristic puts leopards in their own category or in their own clade. Next thing we talk about was dichotomous keys. Now, this is if you were to go into an area where you are looking at organisms and somebody else has already been there and kind of mapped this out for you. You could have certain organisms and you would follow this dichotomous key step by step. So let's say that we were looking at this organism right here, this butterfly looking organism. We would look at step one and we'd say, has 8 legs or has 6 legs? Probably six. So that tells us go to step two. Does not have wings or has wings? Well, that one does have wings. So we'll go to step three. Front legs modified for grasping prey. Well, I don't really see front legs, so I'm going to say they're not modified for grasping prey and go to step four. Wings folded back along the abdomen or wings not folded back. No, the wings aren't folded back. Go to step five. Wings are brightly colored. Yes, that's a butterfly. So let's say we hadn't known what a butterfly was before. We would be able to use this dichotomous key to be able to tell what it was. Or at certain times, you might not have words like spider, ant, prey, mantis, wasp, butterfly, dragonfly, but rather you might have scientific names for those organisms. Thanks for listening to the review of Classification of Life.